Join Bev Lazar, spiritual mentor, Reiki master, psychic medium, with Shelly Greenlaw, doula, yogi, and intuitive energy healer. Two sisters walking the path of spirit to share their experience and advice in all things energy, intuition, and beyond. The Empath Sisters.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode with the Empath Sisters. You're hanging out with Bev and Shelly.
Hello.
And this is going to be our part 2, other side. Is that what we call it? The other side?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So part 2 of the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hope that you really enjoyed the first part, listening to us talk about the, sorry, Shelly's just making faces at me because she had to cough. And prior to us hopping on here, we've been discussing a lot of things that we're actually going to talk to you about in this episode. And how I know for myself, when I channel, a lot of things start to happen with my throat, and my vocal cords start to change. And sometimes it's just, honestly, it's super annoying.
Yep.
I find it annoying. And I know people around me, I'm really conscious about it, just because I'm constantly clearing my throat, and I feel really bad for it because it feels like it's super loud. So we are going to talk about that. But
yes, we are.
Back to the beginning. We were going to talk about part 2 of the other side. So we really hope that you enjoyed episode 1, where we talked and shared about our views, our opinions, our knowledge, our experiences. And and I know I really enjoyed that episode, and really excited to jump into part 2. I don't know if it'll continue after that, but hopefully we'll say all that we need in part 2. Well, I'm sure we'll have many other topics around this, as Shelly and I mean, this is part of our life all the time. These are things that her and I talk about a lot, just our experiences and stuff. But so prior to us hopping on, Shelly and I always we check in with each other and, how's it going, blah, blah, okay, yeah. And we're going to do this part 2. And I'm like, part 2? It's almost like I forgot, because I was like, what do you mean part 2? She's like, well, we're going to do part 2 from the other side. I'm like, we said that? And she's like, yep. And I was like, I don't even remember what we said. And I was like, I'm worried about diving into part 2. I don't want to repeat a lot of the things we already had talked about. So Shelly's like, well, let's check. She didn't really remember either. And I said, well, I think I was just in such a channel. It's just flowing that I just don't remember. Honestly, when I do channel, things just flow, and I just sometimes I don't really remember. And so Shelly pulls out her phone, she finds the episode. I'm listening here. She's listening. She's, oh yeah, okay, we talked about, okay, talked about that, okay. And then, of course, that's probably the first time, honestly, Shelly's ever listened to one of our episodes. Well, fast forward. But and so I'm pointing at her on the screen, laughing at her because some of the facial expressions or things that she says, and so cute. And I'm just thinking in my head, it's so funny. She's finally listening to herself. And and so we're moving through it, and okay, we know what we talked about, and that's great. And then we get towards the end. She's like, okay, we're at 2 minutes and 35 seconds. We're almost at the end. Because I said, well, where do we leave off? Because I want to kind of start from there then. And so just after that, she says that she's listening to it. And over here on my side, I hear music somewhere. And I'm thinking, where is that coming from? Because I have my headphones on. And then I was thinking maybe it came from her computer. I should tell her she should mute her computer when we start to podcast. And then it's quiet. And we get to the end, and she's like, the ending music was earlier. And I went, oh, that's what that was? Because I couldn't hear it really.
I was like, oh my God. I'm like, what the heck? like, what happened? I'm like, what happens? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I do all of the editing.
Yeah. I was like, don't you know when the ending is? And she goes, yeah, I do this all the time. Which we just found out from our brothers. That was like our 60th video.
Yeah, we
So
found out
it's
it was our
like,
60th. Yeah.
so we've definitely, sorry, Shelly has definitely done that a lot.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I know when the ending is. That's really weird. So she's like, let me check another one. So she checks a couple others. Oh,
Yeah.
it's good. It's good. And I'm like, aha. I said, well, obviously we were meant to forget, go back and
Yep.
listen to hear that there was a glitch and that the music, the ending was like 2 minutes towards the ending and not at the end.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, obviously we were meant to get a sign.
Yeah.
And because we did definitely talk about our dad a lot
We did.
in that episode. And towards the end, of course, I was like, oh, cool. Like there's a sign for us
Mhm.
specifically on that episode.
Yeah.
So thought that was really cool. However, when that's happening, it's like I had somebody come to my mind, and that's just kind of how it happens for me too when spirit's
Right.
going to connect with me.
Mhm.
And I'm looking at my sister and I'm thinking, why is this person coming to my mind? Then I was thinking, well, maybe this is the person that this person was trying to say hello, and they're the one that did the glitch and put the music earlier because this
Yeah.
person's trying to get through to say hello to Shelly.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden now, then our
Oh,
throats are like, oh, all this stuff is happening. And I'm like, seriously? And then I said to my sister, you know, when I do this throat clearing thing, it really reminds me of our dad
yeah.
because our dad used to do that.
Oh, all the time.
Like,
Yeah. He'd go,
yeah, literally. He would do this like clearing in his throat as well.
hmm
And so then we got on this topic of like, man, I really don't like that.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, well, maybe dad's trying to come through, and we're both doing this before we start. We're like, oh my gosh, this has to stop before we start because
hmm
we're just gonna be doing this. And we were talking about how our spouses think it's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Because we do it a lot. I don't know if our brother does it. We'll have to ask him if he
Yeah.
also experiences that same issue.
Same throat clearing because yeah,
Mhm.
like I know that you do it and I do it
Mhm.
and
For sure.
it is annoying because it's like
Oh, it's just please stop.
I don't know where it comes from. Like, I mean, I do, but you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
you just out of the blue, sometimes you just like, oh my gosh, or like,
And it's just like it's not just one. They're
no,
like in a run.
yes.
It just feels like
Mhm.
it just goes on and on. I'm like, when is this going to stop? So I was saying to Shelly, I
Yeah.
find this super annoying, especially when I have clients. I'm just like, I'm so sorry. Clear,
Yes.
clear. I'm so sorry. I'm just like, I hate that. But anyway, it is what it
Yes.
is. Most people know they're just like, it's fine, you know, it's whatever. So,
Yeah. But
but as this is happening,
mhm.
then what happens, Shelly?
Sorry, I lost you. What?
So as we were having this discussion, and I
Yes.
said, I have this person that's coming to my
Oh,
mind.
right. Yes.
And Shelly
Yeah.
goes, well, maybe just tell me on we'll just talk about it on the
Yeah.
episode.
We'll talk about it on this episode. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And then I said to her, maybe this person that came to my mind is the person that really wanted to say hello to you.
Right.
And okay, so we're going to talk about it. Finally, Shelly hits play and we're recording.
Yeah.
And I start talking. And
Yep.
Shelly's face isn't moving for a while. And I keep talking and talking. Shelly's face, I look at her and I'm like, wow, she's still in the same expression. I just keep talking and talking. And
I'm
then
literally on this side going, oh my God, we just lost her. I just lost her. So I'm texting on this side going, hello, hello,
yeah. And
I lost you.
I don't have my watch on. I'm not looking at my phone. And I'm like, okay. And then I kept rolling. And
Mhm.
then all of a sudden it's like, this recording has been stopped. And I'm like, and then boom, there was Shelly. And I was like, hey, where did you go? Like, she's like, I lost you. And I was like, okay,
Yep.
seriously. I was like, obviously, spirit was trying to come through again. And I feel like confirmation, definitely it was dad. And especially, we talked about it earlier, and then this other lady came forward, and then he was probably like, they're not getting it. And then we both get the throat thing. We both talk about him.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, let's just talk about this lady. And then we try and it doesn't work. And we're like, okay, fine, it's dad. So it was really cool that we had a sign come through from our dad from the last episode. And that's really cool. So if you did listen to it, I wonder if you were like, that's weird.
Right.
That there was just
because
some random music.
But if you didn't,
if you heard
please
it at
let
the
us
end,
know.
that would be really cool.
Yes.
So here we are. So we're going to continue in part 2. But we just thought we would share how cool that little experience was. We were both like, what? So, so cool. Thank you so much for the sign. Love it, as we love our signs.
Always.
Just like, I'm just like, I feel like a little giddy right now, because that's just so cool, and it makes me so happy.
Yes.
But so like the lady that came to me, which is, I find super random for me, because I don't really know this woman. I didn't really know her. There would be no reason I would think of her, and there would be no reason we had talked about this person or anything. And as we're talking about the other side, it was just like, and she came to me, and she's just still kind of like stuck in my mind. So I feel like that's something I would share with my sister. So, but Kathy came forward.
I figured
after. I was like, you already know who came to me. I already know, So, and so I don't know if you want to share anything about who Kathy was to you or anything like that, but
I can, because like I said, we are talking about the other side, and communication and that type of thing. And so I don't mind sharing about Kathy. Kathy was a very special person to me. She was in my life for a very short period of time. For most of you, not everybody knows this, but I did have my first child at a very young age. And because of having being pregnant at a very young age, I was in high school, and in the province that we were living in, we were kind of assigned right away, because I was technically a minor. We were assigned a social worker, basically, to me. And that's
to, like,
what
support you, or
like to support you? To support
me, or
to support me, but also just to make sure that I don't even know, like, it wasn't about, like, what most people think of social services, right? Like, they don't think, like, it wasn't anything like, oh my gosh, they were gonna, make my mom be in trouble, or because they were just looking into it because I was going to school, and they were making sure that everybody was fine with it at school, because I was still going to school. And it was just something that they did here in the province. And I was assigned to this lady named Kathy. And Kathy was, like I said, assigned to me. Even though she was assigned to me, I don't know what it was. I don't even know how to explain this, but it was like, she wasn't my social worker. She really wasn't. We just clicked. We connected on such a different level. And it felt more like I was like a daughter to her. She really, really cared a lot for me. She she knew some of our situation, like, we had at this time, we had just left, not just dad, but like, we had just left one of our, like, my mom's partner at the time. And so she was really supportive in that as well. And she just, I don't know, it was just different. She was different kind of person. But fast forward, she basically had been with me since I was about 4 months along, and she was with me up until, um, I had my first child, and, still after that, but as friends, really, we were really, good friends, and she was even at my child's birth, like, she was
Yeah.
there the whole time,
Yeah,
and,
she was amazing. She was
she
like an
really
angel,
was.
honestly. I feel
Yeah.
like she was an angel in your life at that time.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she was, and she like even though mom was there,
Mhm.
but she just really in a way, not that she like took over as like the spot of mom, but like
No,
in a
I
way
feel like
she just was there to comfort, like just support me in a different way than my mom could, right?
yeah.
And I appreciate both of them being there.
Mhm.
However, Kathy just gave me so much support and knowledge. She gave
Yeah.
me so much knowledge in what to do, how to do things, like, what was my, like in decisions, even goals, like what were my
Mhm.
goals? What was I going to do? What was I going to do with this child? Like, she supported me in every way.
Yeah.
And so anyway, fast forward, we kind of lost touch because after I had my first child, we ended up, or I ended up, sorry, I was in a relationship, and the relationship is with the husband I'm with now. And so I was with my husband at the time. We were just kind of like newly dating and everything. And about a year, no, almost 2 years in, um, I decided to move away with him. We moved to the Maritimes for a little while, so we lost touch.
Mhm.
And anyway, we lost touch, and then we came back to Alberta again. And I ended up uh, working at a daycare for a little while. And out of the blue, one of our really, really close family, like extended family, came to me and said that he had heard that Kathy was not well. And I remember him saying that she was in Calgary at the cancer hospital down there. And, of course, when you hear the word cancer, you think, oh my God, you just automatically think of this worst thing.
Yeah.
And we didn't know the extent of how bad it was.
Mhm.
And so anyway, uh, the extended family member asked me if I wanted to go down to see her, and I was like, "Of course, I want to go see
Yeah.
her."
You saw,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Take
and
the
so then
opportunity.
yeah, and so
Mhm.
then we set up basically a day to go, and so we drove down to Calgary, and I'll never forget it. Like, I still remember it to this day. And if I pause, it's because I'm going to be emotional about it.
Yeah. She'll be silent, and that means
Yeah,
she's
I
crying.
may. And so we drove down there, we get to the hospital, and we find out that she has now I think I'm pretty sure it was cervical. I know it's in the uterus or the cervical. I just know it was one of those, and it was one of the worst that women can get.
Mm,
And like I said,
darn.
we didn't know the extent until we got there, and we found out that it was like stage 4. Like, there was just nothing else they could do for her.
Oh,
And
it's too bad.
yeah, and
Mhm.
so I remember going to her room, and uh, I went in myself, and I walked around the corner, and she had looked at me and was like, "Oh my God." She's
Yeah.
like, "You came." And I was like,
Oh.
"Of course." She goes, "I've been waiting for you." That's what she said.
Oh.
And I was like, "Of course I'm going to come." Like, I didn't know, right? And
Yeah,
so
for sure.
yeah, so she was like, "I've been waiting for you." And so
Oh,
I got to visit her for as long as I could, as that they allowed me to, because she was very ill.
Yeah.
And so I think it was like a couple hours. And so then she was like, okay, like, I'm just so happy to have seen you. And I gave her a hug and I said, I hope to see you, again soon, because like I just was like, well, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to come back,
Yeah.
and yeah, so then I left and we drove back home that same day. And the next morning, I got the call and that she had passed. And
Good thing you were there the day before. Like it honestly all worked out so beautifully. Like even the fact that she said, I've been waiting for you, just
yes,
makes me think of like how hard she probably energetically was like willing and wanting you to come and see her,
right,
waiting, and how then all of a sudden this person shows up and is like,
right.
hey, and lets you know, and
Yeah.
you plan this trip and you go, and it's just like, wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
And
That
it
is really
was. And I'm
amazing. That's so
so
beautiful.
grateful
I'm so happy
for,
for her and for you. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so
Yeah. So it's not like, I know you don't it's been a long time since that happened, since she had passed away. And I didn't know um Kathy the way that my sister had known her. Um I mean, I was like 10 years old. So I
yeah.
mean, well, 9 and 10, and I was just a kid.
Yeah.
And so I knew of Kathy. She, like,
Mhm.
Shelly had talked about her. I had seen her because she had, been around.
Yeah.
But I didn't like spend the time like Shelly did with her. But I just knew she was just a very nice lady. And that's what I
Mhm.
remembered. And I kind of still even remember what she looks like. And that's what came to my mind, was how I remember seeing her, which is crazy to me because I'm like, I don't even like know her that well or any of that, like how you do. And
Yeah.
yeah, and it's just so beautiful that she just like popped in and was like, hello again, as we're talking, and just
Yeah.
opportunists, just
Yeah. And she does every once in a while. And I
yeah,
am so grateful for that.
yeah.
Yeah, like I said, um I was so like it, even though it was like what she said to me that day and then like she passed the next day,
Yeah,
and even though I was devastated, however, uh I was so um grateful to be
yeah.
able to make it. That's all I kept thinking was,
Yeah, it's almost like one of those like, thank God I made it. Like,
yeah,
thank God I went,
yeah,
because had you not, you might have missed that opportunity,
right,
right?
yeah,
And so I think I would have probably felt the same way. I think I would have thought that a lot.
yeah,
I think, even though yes, it's sad,
yeah,
but I would have been, definitely part of me would be like, oh my gosh, like I'm so glad I went. Like, thank
hmm,
goodness I went today or
yeah,
yesterday.
yeah, because who
It's
knows,
amazing.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's,
definitely.
and like for the longest time, I'm not gonna lie, like over and over, that's all I kept hearing out of her was, I've
Yeah.
been waiting for you, right? And so that really affected me for a while, but like
Hmm.
after I got through the grieving and all that kinds of stuff, I mean, obviously you just notice me get emotional about it,
Yeah.
but it's because like I truly, am grateful that I did make it. And like what Bev just
Hmm.
said earlier, and it took so much like energy
Hmm.
for me to show up, like to be there for her before
For
she
sure.
like left the earth, like,
Yeah.
so um
It's like a
yeah.
full circle. Like she was
Hmm.
there for you,
Yeah.
and you showed up for her, when she was at the hospital and needed you,
Right.
kind of thing, like vice versa, right? And
Yeah.
I just think that that's like a full circle moment, and it's really beautiful. And I feel like also part of why you are that emotional, is because I feel like that gratitude that you have is because she just she just really supported you in the ways that you needed through that period of time, you know.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so yeah,
And
so
she
it's just
was.
really beautiful. So I think my job is to like help Shelly learn to cry in front of people. I just have to
As
make
you
you
all
laugh.
know, I don't like to, but I told her that it was
Yeah.
okay because I knew.
Yeah.
I
was
knew
like,
who it was. And
yeah.
that's why I said, well, we might as well just talk about it, because really,
Yeah.
it is about what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And it is
We do get
about,
emotional and we do love these people and we do miss them and all of these things.
right.
And I was just like, okay, if I tell you this person, I know you're gonna cry. I was like, it's okay. I'm like, I know you hate to cry in front of people. She's like, it's okay. She grabbed her Kleenex.
I got it right here.
I'm ready. She goes, I'm prepared. I'm like, okay, we're doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And,
yeah.
but I just thought it was, to be honest, like it was just, like what Bev said, full circle, like we're already talking about the other side.
Mhm.
And, you know, what better way to talk about the other side is, you
Yeah,
know, talking about the people that we have on the other side, right?
yeah,
And so,
for sure.
um, you know, and I'm sure that, you know, everybody is going to have, I, I mean, I'm not going to say that everybody has a story, but I'm just going to say, like, you know, there are going to be, you know, emotional times, grieving times, all those things for those people that are on the other side, right? And
Mhm.
so, you know, and it can be, you know, like where you maybe not have thought about them for a while, and you're going
Exactly.
through life like in autopilot. You're just going through life, and then all of a sudden it will
Yeah,
hit you. And,
yeah,
you know, it's no different than what we talked about last time about having that thought just pop in your head randomly. Well, it's,
yeah.
you know, them saying hello to you,
Ooh.
you know,
Yeah,
that type of thing. So, yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah.
And Shelly usually says that she misses a lot of things or it needs to smack her in the face or something. I don't know. So she was probably like, I'm just gonna just knock on Bev's door for Shelly. So
Yeah.
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 And it's so sweet, even though, as we're talking about the other side and signs and our loved ones and she's been gone for a really long time. And, it's not that she visits you all
No.
the time, like, like our dad would kind
Right.
of thing, like he shows up more. And so it's just beautiful how they still show up,
Yeah.
even after so much time and say hello. And it's
Yeah.
just so beautiful. And I also have had lots of readings too, where some people come for readings and I'm like, okay, well, I can't guarantee who's going to come through, but
Right.
they're opportunists. The door opens, and some people really have the intention of wanting certain people to come through. And sometimes some loved ones that do come through are other people and not the people that they really wanted. And again,
Yeah.
it's going back to that part one where we, shared it's about timing,
Yep.
and also I've also had the experience of people coming for readings where they have loved ones that come through, they're open to it, and it might not even be their intention. Like that's not why they came, was for mediumship, but
Right.
they are open to it. And there'll be loved ones that come through that they don't remember, like because they passed away when they were 2
Yes.
or have passed before they were even born.
Right.
And they're just like, I don't know why this person would show up, for
Mhm.
me. And it's like, well, your family, like they love you,
Yeah.
and they're like, well, I didn't know them very well. And I think there's a part of that human side I find where they're like, they feel bad because it
Mhm.
didn't really think about them
No.
or
Yeah.
know or want them to come through or think, they just assumed it would be somebody that they knew,
Right. And
and
that's what we first think of. Like that's
of
automatically
course,
what we think of, right? We think
definitely
of
what the
like the
brain
people that,
does.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So, yeah,
yeah.
that's definitely something that um I know we have probably mentioned over and over, but like, you know, we can't guarantee who is going to come through. And
Mhm.
it's not necessarily like your close loved ones. It could be someone that you're married to, their loved ones, they're like
Definitely.
like there's a vast opportunity for anyone that you're connected to come
It's
through.
true. Oh,
So,
yeah, definitely. I've had a lady that came through. I remember this one time, and I was how it is for me when it's somebody that's outside their family. They
mhm,
stand, it's almost like there's this like this
yeah,
bubble,
mhm,
and then I see them standing on the outside of it. And
yeah,
so then I know that they're not related to
related.
this person. And I'll be like,
Mhm.
I got this guy who's standing on the outside of your bubble. So I feel like he's just like knows you,
Yeah,
but isn't like related to you. So oftentimes I'll see like a family tree as well.
right.
Um, but yeah, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, that was my friend in high school that
Mhm.
passed away when, he was 15. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and they're just blown away. And I'm like, yeah, but like they were good friends, or they hung out and just wanted to say hello, or, they, hung out at a couple parties, or,
Yeah.
whatever. Right. It's just, yeah, it's
Yep.
amazing. I even had another lady who had a friend come through that had passed away in high school and I think she had meningitis. She had gotten meningitis, I want to
Oh,
say,
okay. Yeah.
and didn't survive. Like she had got really sick and
Hmm.
passed away. And my gosh, yeah, it's just, yeah. So again,
Yeah.
it's people that you have even just come in contact with, that you knew, that had some kind of like a contract relationship with too, that
Yep.
show up. So
Hmm.
sometimes it's just a big surprise.
Yeah. It is. And that's why, like I said earlier, it is about not guaranteeing who's going to come through, because it's
Yeah.
whoever you are connected to can come
Mhm.
through.
Yeah.
So there's lots of times, yeah, like, that you might not know necessarily who it is, but it's
Mhm.
for someone that you do know. You know what I mean? Like
Definitely.
that's like connected to you,
Yeah.
that has to come through and tell you to tell them. Like that
Yeah.
happens a lot.
That too.
I've had that many times. I've had it like where I had to tell my friend to tell her friend, like, even though I know the friend, like, so like, let's say it's my friend Barbara. Okay. So like
I
Barbara's
love that
friends.
name. I love that you picked that name.
Yeah. So like, let's say
Okay.
I'm friends with Barbara, and Barbara's friends with Louise, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
all of a sudden I'll have something like come through for Louise, but I, don't know Louise well to go, hey, guess what? Like I have a,
Yeah, let me just
I
tell you
don't,
this thing.
right? So then I'm like, no way. So then I approach Barbara and say,
Mhm.
hey, how open is Louise? Is she open to hearing something? It's
Yeah.
been like, I have to tell you this because it's not leaving me alone,
Mhm.
So
Definitely.
that's what I mean by it can be anybody. It can be anybody that you're connected with to and them like it just
Definitely.
it's like when I try to tell people, like when generational people come in, so like
Mhm.
a grandma, great grandmother, like great great
Yeah.
great, like they're standing in line. They're literally like,
Yeah.
so it's like you have to figure out like where
Which
they're,
generation it is.
yes, or
Yeah.
whose it is, like
Mhm.
it might not necessarily be your great grandmother, it might be your husband's great grandmother, or,
Definitely.
so
They'll
it's,
just come through for some reason. Yeah.
mhm,
And sometimes I'll have in a reading like a message that comes through, but it's for that person to pass along to another person,
yes, yep,
to their loved one. And it's just
hmm,
like, okay, I can, because they'll show me the person and it's like,
right,
okay, they want to talk about this person. What do they want to talk to this person for? Or what do they want to say? Okay. And then I kind of just leave it up to the person I'm reading.
yeah,
I'll say if they're open to that, or I'm just going to leave that with you for you to decide if you're going to pass that along or what. But
hmm,
yeah, it's just comes flowing through. So yeah,
yeah,
it's really I think about it and I'm like, my brain just goes, there's so much,
yeah,
honestly. I feel anyway, to mediumship and the other side and connecting and with spirit, and it being like charades, and
yep,
just trying to always, do your best to figure out what it is that they want to say,
yeah,
or that they're trying to get across. So, but I always say to people, like, the fact that we had our parents were hearing
hmm,
impaired, I'm losing my words now, is that we've been interpreting our
yep,
whole life. Like I
hmm,
said, I've just had a lot of practice interpreting. It's not necessarily just for spirit, but for our parents, it's like, what is this person saying?
right,
What is the situation? And now I know in my mind, I got to figure out how I can
to
take
tell
that
them,
information, and then I'm
hmm,
going to make sure that my parents understand that, because
yeah,
I do know that my parents don't necessarily understand everything very clearly.
right,
And so it's like, okay, I also know that their education was at a lower grade level. It's kind of
Mhm.
just at that time, it only went up to like grade 8
Grade
or
8 or
something.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like they were in school for a long time and,
Mhm.
they're not speaking English. So they're
Yeah.
not, so there's that disconnect. Like I always say to people, I remember my school notes that mom would write,
I
and it would be
know.
like,
You have
um,
good day.
yeah, to teacher, I
Yeah.
let for
Yeah.
Beverly can go on field trip,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and then I remember as I got older, she'd be like, well, you write it first and I'll copy it.
Yeah.
Because then she started becoming more conscious, I think, of
Mhm.
like that it wasn't,
Proper
yeah, like
English
she just like,
grammar,
yeah, I think it just
Yeah.
kind of bothered her. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, to whom it may concern.
Yeah.
And then I would, and I would just
Yeah.
write it out, and then she would copy it, and then I would and she would sign it and hand it in. But
Mhm.
yeah, it was just so yeah, it's always just taking information. And so from that practice, it's always been just, also a spirit too.
Yep.
And just in even my own like higher self, my own spirit guides, my own intuition, interpreting that and then trusting it. That's
Mhm.
been, I would say that's probably the majority of everybody's
Struggle. Yeah.
practice.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
is interpreting that. But
Yeah.
of course they're going to give you many, many, experiences to be able to trust it. But
Yeah.
it's just a
And
matter of
like
trusting it. It's hard.
the
But
thing, but even for us, like
mhm,
what's and like people don't realize this, but like it just makes me think of like what you said about like we have to take the information and interpret it to our parents, right? Because they were
mhm,
hearing impaired or are hearing impaired. And what really was hard for me in my
mhm,
experience in doing that is
mhm,
hearing stuff first before they did. And
mhm,
so, like, if it was something bad, or not the greatest news,
mhm.
or happy news too. I mean,
Yeah,
there were some like, I'm not saying that everything was bad, but like we would have, all these things, information told to us first before
yeah,
our parents found out. And so we'd
yeah.
have to interpret it to explain to them what they just said to us. Or my
Mhm,
favorite is they would look at the expression on our faces and be like,
mhm.
what's the matter?
Yeah.
As they knew.
I feel like I've definitely gotten way better at that, because
Yeah.
I know being with my parents, like I
Yeah.
live close to our parents, so
Right.
I'm with them a lot and do more like appointments and things like that with
Yeah.
them now,
Yeah.
than Shelly did when we were younger.
Hmm.
And I find that I have really, I've learned to be that interpreter and not the daughter.
Right.
I've learned to be like, no emotion. I'm just, I'm the conduit. I'm just going to pass
Right.
the information in a way that you're going to understand it. And then you can have your emotion, because I don't
Right.
want to like take any of that. And I don't want to take it away from them, whatever it is, good or bad.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
it's just like this, and this. And then I let them have their emotion,
I know.
and then I will sometimes have emotion with them, but most times I actually just hold that and I come home and then have my
Yeah.
emotions, because I'm just
Hmm.
like, I can't fall apart,
Right.
in
Yeah.
front of my parents. Like
Yeah.
I will feel so bad,
Yeah.
because they'll be like, what's the matter? I don't want to put fear
Hmm.
into them because they might not understand, or
Yeah.
I don't want to influence
Yeah.
that for them. So I just
No, I totally
kind of do
understand
that on
that.
my own.
Tried doing that as a kid.
Yeah, no, well, of course. I can't remember even as a kid interpreting when I was younger, having
Hmm.
emotion with my
Nope.
interpretation, other
And
than
that's,
sometimes having more excitement of like, and I
yeah.
really want to say it like
Yes.
quickly,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
other than that, no, like even when you had your baby, right? Like, Shelly just had the baby, let's go to the hospital, it'd
Right.
be like,
Yeah.
and she'd be like, yes, right,
Right.
excited and let's go
Yes,
and
of
kind of thing. But
course. Yeah.
other than that, like I just kind of let them have their
Yep.
receive it, and let them be the first hand receiving, just as if
Right.
we
Just
were
as if
to
they
be the
heard it the
first hand.
first time. Yep.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know we did that. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
back to the other side.
Yes.
Yeah, the other side is like here. It's very much like here. They're
Mhm.
learning, doing things, living, traveling, maybe perhaps if you're open to this, people reincarnating,
Right.
then they already might be on their next life.
Yeah.
But I know some people ask me, well, okay, well, if they're already reincarnated, then how do they show up for me?
Right.
How do they still come through? Because some people have a feeling that their loved one already reincarnated, and they also feel that they're not going to come through in a reading.
Right.
Have you ever had that experience?
I have not, but
okay.
yeah, I have not, but I do know that I've had, myself in questions of that. So we could talk about that.
I'm like, you're everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
Like, I think I have an idea of, I know what, because like, to me, like we're souls. Like I don't, even though we're not in the physical, and even if they do come back in the physical, you still had that soul that came, before. So that's how that soul comes to you in that form. Right. So that's how I look at it. Yeah, exactly.
Totally. And they can still show up for you.
Yep.
Energetically, consciously, that way, even if they are living a life here.
That's right.
Already. So it is pretty neat.
It is.
And sometimes I'll know if they already moved on and that they're showing up, like coming back and showing up this way, but have already actually moved into another life. Which is so cool because that has come through, but I didn't know that with like the person that was reading for. But I'll be like, this is interesting. Then I'll say it and they'll go, I knew it. I had a feeling. That's why I wanted to come here, was to find out if that was true. And I'm like,
yeah,
cool. Yeah, it's so neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel very blessed and very grateful for having these abilities and these gifts. And I am so happy that I'm able to help so many others have some healing and some comfort, or whatever it brings them. That just makes me super happy. So it's just so amazing. I think of all the experiences that I've had.
I know.
Just like, which ones do I want to talk about? Because
I know
I've just honestly have had so many.
Yeah. I know. And that's the thing about, when it comes to, but I also don't want to say it because of what we do. You know what I mean? Like I'm not sure about you, but like, I just feel like, I know there's some people that are like, oh, well, it's because you do this for a living and you do that, no, like,
or you're really gifted. And
yes.
I'm not.
Or
I'm
that.
Like, wait a minute.
Or that. Yeah, I know. And I'm like, no, we're all gifted. We're all gifted. And that we all can do this. It literally is like a muscle. You just have to be open, and you have to practice. You practice. It's no different than when you're running. It's like a muscle, memory, that type of thing. It's something
like
that
you get better and better at it as you practice.
Because anybody that's listening, everybody, I don't care who you are, everybody has intuition. Okay. Everybody.
It's whether you listen to it or not.
That's right.
Some come here and choose not to listen to their intuition. They very much are living through their mind.
Yeah.
And that they make their decisions, they think things, and they're just this, they're doing that, blah, 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 blah. There might be times in their lives where they think that that's very odd, that they had this experience where they're like, well, one time I just felt like I was supposed to do this, but it was really weird. And that worked out for me, but I don't know why.
Or how.
Or how. Must be like one of those, like, I don't even know if I believe in coincidences. That was just weird. And then they just carry on, right?
Yeah.
And so there's some that will still have the experience. It'll pop up, but they just kind of go, I don't know what that is, and I'm not going to listen to it, or I'm not going to talk about it because it's really weird. So it's very woo-woo,
Okay, but have you had anybody who said that they really rely on their intuition too much? Or do you feel that there are anybody that...
No, I feel like the people that rely on their intuition, I wouldn't say too much.
No,
I wouldn't use that word, but I do have a lot of people that just really have learned to listen to their intuition, and that's just all they listen to. And they feel everything. They're like, what should I wear today? How does this make me feel? Okay, I got to make a decision about this. That feels good to you. Let's do that. you know,
Mhm.
like it's just a feel. They really stay away from that think talk,
Right.
that thinking voice, right?
Mhm.
Which I understand. I'm the same way. I've very much listened to like how I feel, and
Mhm.
I can hear that thinking come in every once in a while. And I'm like, oh, hey, you're showing up. No, I don't want to listen to you. And sometimes I'll be like, okay, play with you for a little while. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, we'll play with that thought. And okay, sure, you want to go around the board, you know,
Mhm.
halfway, and then I'm going to put you in jail, and there's going to be no return. And I'm back to
Yeah.
listening to my intuition. It's like
Yeah.
Monopoly. But
Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah. No, I was just curious. Because we always say you're not listening to your intuition enough, right? Or,
yeah,
that type of thing. I haven't heard anybody say that they have used their intuition too much, or
yeah.
anything like that. So
I would
just
I would have
curious.
to say for some people I do know, um, and maybe this kind of goes along with like listening to your intuition and stuff, but
Mhm.
they're very aware.
Yeah.
And so sometimes they're like, you know, and I agree with them. It's just sometimes it's just so much work when you're
Right.
aware,
Yeah.
because you're so aware. You look at you're analyzing
Right.
everything, but it's not of the brain, it's not of the thinking, but you're analyzing because you're scanning scenario, situations, decisions, like because you're just scanning to feel what your intuition's telling you, and you're
Mhm.
just listening to it. But that creates you to be so aware of everything that's going on.
Right.
And so sometimes my people that I know that are like that too feel like sometimes they're like, you know, sometimes it'd be just so easy to just like not do that, because it's
Mhm.
just you feel like you're just you're on alert and you're
Yep.
just scanning. So like you're using that muscle, say you're almost overworking that muscle by just
Mhm.
scanning and feeling into everything. Where sometimes it's just like, man, maybe I just want to do that. I just want to be a human today and be like, screw
Yep.
it.
Mhm.
I don't want to listen today. And I'm
Uh,
going to do everything against my intuition today,
uh-huh.
you know? But at the same time, it's like, nah, I really love listening to. So when I go there and I play on that thought for a minute of like, what would that be like? And just to like be oblivious to things and not care. Like sometimes it's just like, oh, I just care so much that sometimes I'm like, sometimes I just don't want to care. And it's not
Yeah.
about people or anything. I just don't want to care about like how I'm going to say this or what
Yeah.
decision I'm going to make or how I'm going to like feel into this
Mhm.
one. And then what road is that going to lead me on? And you kind of just go down this rabbit
Yep.
hole of
Yep.
like, this is like, so for me, I'm just like very conscious, aware of what my actions are and what my decisions are and how I'm going to affect people. And I just, sometimes that's just a lot.
Yeah.
It's just like, man, oh man.
Yep. It can be. Definitely.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. I also
Yeah.
don't want to just be blind to things, you know?
No, well, that's just it, right? Um,
Not that I'm saying people are blind to things, but it's it's just a state of being. Sometimes
yeah,
it's just we're not seeing things
what's in
clearly.
front of you. Yeah.
Totally. And even
Mhm.
as intuitive as I am, I can still not see things as clearly yet because
Same.
it's not time for me to see things clearly. So
Right.
I kind of let that go too. And I don't like overanalyze that. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
whatever. So I just kind of be. It's
Mhm.
like if it's meant to show up, it's going to show up. I kind of
Right.
just surrender. It's what I've learned to do is just surrender these things. But
Mhm.
anyway, we
Yeah.
totally squirreled off
I know. I
like
was just
so
thinking
many
when we were
times. I'm
talking
so
about
sorry,
sorry
everybody.
people.
I don't even know this is a part two, other
No,
than,
right?
the beginning there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. But
yeah.
yeah, but with the now we're gonna go back, hopefully talk about the other side here. But like Bev said, yeah. So basically, in what we really believe it, well, what we believe in our hearts, or
Mm,
however you want to look at it, whatever is happening here is happening there. And they're doing the same things that we are. They're just doing it on a different, um,
level,
yeah, I guess level. Yeah.
plane. Yeah, it's kind of how I
Yeah.
look at it. They're just on a
Yeah.
different plane.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like upstairs, we're downstairs,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They're just on that astral plane. They're doing their thing and
Mm-hmm.
they're carrying out some amazing work. They're learning things. They're back at school,
Yeah.
they're supporting others, and that is something that I learned from our dad when he passed.
Mm-hmm.
He had came to me and he was saying that he was working in some kind of like a center, um, and he was helping when out like people who had been alcoholics here.
Yeah.
When they crossed over, he was assisting them in that transition, and also helping them if they needed like that support going through their life review,
Right.
as an alcoholic in their life. And so to me, I was like, wow, that's, it also helped me to heal that, like, the crappy parts of, the alcoholism that we experienced
Yeah.
and what he was like while he was here. um it's like, it's nice and comforting to know that he's doing something good about that.
Right.
He's helping others, and
Yeah.
I just thought that was really nice. However, he did say he was going to come back and experience being an alcoholic again, and that bothered me. I was like,
Yeah.
really? But he just said he wasn't done learning.
Yeah.
And this time he wanted to be an alcoholic and see what the effects of alcoholism was going to be on family, and how it was going to affect family members. And yeah, you're right. I don't know what else it affected in his life, but definitely his family the most.
Definitely his family. Yeah, for sure. And like, what you said too, like about how they were learning and, doing other things, but, they also, with people on the other side, and I know we keep bringing up our dad, but because we do that, the reason why we're doing that is because we just have known what he's been doing. Like we know what he's doing. And the other parts of what he has been doing too is making amends, right? So he's trying really hard to not necessarily, I wouldn't say, like, I hate the word like amends or fix, but like he's slowly trying to do things that he maybe had done wrong down here, so that he can do other things on the other side. So for example, I do know that our dad was in a really bad accident, like an accident years ago. And he came to me to show me, like he showed me the accident, and that he knew that he did wrong. Right. And he knew he did. He knew he shouldn't have got in the truck. And he showed me the key, like how he was, like everything. And it was just amazing. Right. So like, that's the other thing about having people on the other side. They will show you things that they are sorry for, or what they,
kind of like
regret.
their mistakes, or how they maybe have done wrong by you, or I know he had showed me to a time that he was attempting to take his life, and I totally blocked that out completely. I didn't even consciously remember that. And so when he showed up in my dream, he was talking with me, and it was just great. And then all of a sudden he just kind of flipped, and he turned into that, like, Jekyll Hyde is what I always called my dad. And he had the object in his hands, and he was like he was screaming and holding the object in his hands. And I'm thinking in my mind, what just happened? Like, we were just having an awesome conversation. I don't even know what you're doing right now. And I was like, what are you doing? And I went to like stop him, like, what's wrong? And he goes, no, 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 no. He's like, it's okay. I'm sorry. And I'm like, what? Like, to me, I had no idea what that meant. And he was like, I'm sorry, I have to go now. And I was like, oh, okay, like, bye, Dad. And like, he left, and I woke up, and I was like, whoa, that was amazing. And I was so happy because it was so real, and we had our visit, and it was incredible. And then I was like, but what was that? Like, bizarre to me. So I thought about it for, like, I want to say 2 to 3 days for sure. And I always used to get up in the morning really early before the kids, and just kind of like have my quiet time, as we've discussed before. And so I'm in my living room. I'm sitting in my chair. I'm having my coffee. I'm just like looking outside, and in my mind, I just went, like, what was with that? Like, I just don't understand, it just, I went there again. And then all of a sudden, there it was. It just showed up. And it was like a whole, way back in the day when we were in school, they had the projector, they put it on the desk, right? And they just like, they keep moving it, right? That's what it was like in my mind. It just start to finish. And I saw the whole scene, and I can't forget it to this day. And I remember the house. I remember what happened. I remember what was said. Keith was there. Keith was outside. I was in the living room, and yeah, I remember witnessing the whole thing, and I just went, oh my God.
Right.
And that was so amazing to me, because it wasn't something that I remembered,
Right.
but he was apologizing for it. I was
Mhm.
just like, I'm so sorry. It was like, I'm so sorry that you
Witness.
went
I
into
mean,
survival mode.
yeah.
You blocked this out of your
Yeah.
mind because it was so hard for you,
Traumatic. Yeah.
so
Mhm.
traumatic.
Yeah.
And that was like, that was
Yeah.
a huge gift, honestly.
Mhm.
Even though I didn't remember it, I was just like,
Yeah.
wow, you took the time to like bring that forward and apologize to me for that. Like,
Yeah.
whoa,
I know.
that was amazing to me.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean,
yeah,
he's done a lot of um amends, sort like
yeah,
showing he's sorry.
definitely.
Trust me. Well, even trust Bev. Like we know
Yeah,
he has done a lot of things that he has come back to say sorry for. And
absolutely. Yeah.
so
And that's also part of like, you know, cleaning things up karmically.
mhm,
And also it's also for us, because we're still here as humans.
right.
And it's also very healing for us. It helps us to move forward as well.
Yep.
So I don't know if this has been other people's experiences or not. I'm not too sure. Um, I mean, Shelly and I are always open to hearing other people's stories.
Absolutely.
If you have a story where you've
Yeah.
had a loved one come back and say sorry, or
Sorry.
have some forgiveness, or bring up something, I mean,
Mhm.
oh man, I think we would love to hear that. I would just love
Yep.
to know if like this happens for other people too, which I've heard
Right.
it has for other clients and stuff that I've met. But if you would like to share them, we'd love to hear them.
Yeah, we would
Share them with us.
definitely. Yeah.
Or if you would like to be on our podcast and you would like to share some of your stories with us and our listeners, we are definitely open to that as well.
Yes.
Just make sure that you reach out to us and say,
Yeah, for
hey,
sure.
I've had a couple experiences. We want to chat with you.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, yeah. So
So yeah.
hopefully, that gave you a little bit of an understanding, maybe a little bit on our views, a little bit of story time,
Yeah.
to to us talking about the other side.
Yeah.
Again,
And
like Bev
loved ones
said,
and
yeah,
signs and all the
hmm
things. Yeah, we've had
yeah,
a lot of stuff.
we did, yeah. And like Bev said, if you have anything you want to share or even have questions
Yeah.
about anything, we'd be happy to answer them and in any
Mhm.
way we can
Yeah.
and support you in any way we can.
Yeah,
And
for
but
sure.
yeah, for mostly we really just want to thank you for,
Yeah.
listening to us again.
Definitely.
And I'm sure this topic will never stop. I mean, we do love to talk about it a lot. And
Do
we just thought we'd give you a little bit of an idea of, things that are on the other
Mhm.
side.
Just
And
a snippet, an
yeah,
insight
yeah, insight. Yeah, that's right.
into our views and experiences, and our
Yeah.
views because of our experiences and the knowledge that
Yes.
we have gained through our lives as well, not just because of the work that we do, but that has
Right.
definitely been a lot of knowledge to come forward to is through our
That's right.
work. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's been amazing. So
Yeah. So
we thank
thank
you.
you so much for listening to the Empath Sisters today. We are definitely sending you love and light and gratitude where this may
Sure.
find you. I hope
Yes.
you all have a great listening day.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Awesome. Take
Take
care,
care.
everybody. Bye
Take
bye.
care. Bye.